perfect for bedtime children's reading. And it happened on this day almost 2,000 years ago. We're taking a break today from the series in 1 Corinthians because this is the beginning of Holy Week. Starts today, and we go up to next Sunday, Resurrection Sunday, which is the pinnacle of the calendar year. And so this morning we're going to read the passage about Palm Sunday from Matthew's Gospel. And then I want to dig into it. And I think, even though you're very familiar with the story, I think you may be surprised at some of the things that we find. And my hope is that it's not just new information, but it actually changes the way you think and changes the way you approach life on Monday morning. But let's begin by reading our text together. Stand if you're able, and let's read aloud Matthew 21, verses 1 through 17. Let's read. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there, with her colt beside her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, say that the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away." This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. "Say to the daughter Zion, see, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them for Jesus to sit on. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of them and those that followed shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest heaven." When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, "Who is this?" The crowds answered, "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." Jesus entered the temple courts and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the temples changers and the benches of those who were selling doves. "It is written," he said to them, "My house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers." The blind and the lame came to him at the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and teachers of the law saw the wonderful things he did, and the children shouting in the temple courts, "Hosanna to the Son of David," they were indignant. "Did you hear what these children are saying?" they asked him. "Yes," replied Jesus. "Have you never read, from the lips of children and infants you, Lord, have been forth to praise?" And he left them and went out to the city, to Bethany, where he spent the night. This is God's word. You may be seated. Like I am seated today because in Luke chapter 4 it says Jesus, they stood up, they stood to read the scriptures, and then he sat down to teach. And the one thing they never ever did anywhere in the Bible was use a pub table. Sometimes they stood up, but no, my back is hurting, and so I'm sitting down. So I apologize for that. I want you to notice some things in what we just read. The first step in Bible study is observation. Just look at what it says. Don't try to interpret it. Don't try to apply it. Just look. Just notice. And I want you to notice 3 things. Number 1, Jesus deliberately created a crisis. And the crisis is rooted in something that happens before the triumphal entry. So we need to look back a little bit more. In Matthew chapter 20, Jesus and his disciples are leaving the last rest stop that there is before a 20-mile climb from the city of Jericho, right on the Jordan River, to Jerusalem. Here's Matthew 20, verse 29. As Jesus and his disciples were leaving Jericho, a large crowd followed him. Two blind men were sitting by the roadside, and when they heard that Jesus was going by, they shouted, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." The crowd rebuked them and told them to be quiet, but they shouted all the louder, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." Well, Jesus did have mercy on them. He gave both of the blind men eyesight. And you might think, okay, so yeah, this is another day, another miracle. Jesus has done lots of them. He's given sight to blind people before. But this event had great significance for the triumphal entry that's going to follow. Because for the very first time, Jesus is publicly proclaimed Messiah. He's proclaimed Messiah, and he allows it. Previously, if Jesus called, or if somebody called Jesus the Messiah, he told, "Shh, tone it down, not yet." And when these blind men called out, Son of David, everybody knew what that title meant. They knew what they were saying. Son of David was the title of the long prophesied Messiah King, the ultimate ruler, the final king of the world. And now for the very first time, somebody shouts the title in public, "Oh, ultimate king, oh, king of the world." And Jesus turns to them and he says, "Yes." The crowd gasps. The disciples, they catch their breath. For so long, they have wanted Jesus to openly say who he was. I mean, they knew his power. They had seen it for years. They knew what he could do, and they longed for him to announce it publicly. And finally, Jesus does it. They know this is not just another miracle. This is a major turning point. By publicly accepting the Messiah, the deliverer title, Jesus is creating a crisis. From here on, either he must triumph and seize the kingship or be crushed by the religious authorities, who will have no choice but to respond. So the disciples they're looking at each other. Did you hear what I heard? Is this real? They're thrilled, but they're also terrified, because suddenly it's just become do or die, triumph or destruction. Jesus had just announced, "I am Messiah. I am Israel's king." And they're headed to Jerusalem, where he could make it happen. He created a crisis. The second thing I want you to notice is Jesus totally set up the triumphal entry. Every detail of it. You know, the way we often hear this story is Jesus was going to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover with his disciples, and out of nowhere this crowd appears shouting, "Hail, Son of David, Hosanna," and Jesus is almost caught off guard. "Oh, shucks, I'm speechless. Well, all right, this parade is cute. Yeah, this is cool. It's a little embarrassing, but I'll go along with it. It's okay." That's not how it was at all. Jesus orchestrated the entire event, and here's how. First of all, as they near the top of this climb, he sends two disciples on into a village called Bethpage to fetch a donkey. Now, Bethpage and Bethany are two villages just outside Jerusalem's walls. Bethany was the home to Jesus' close friends, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, and he had spent considerable time with them. And so Jesus not only knew them, he knew the village well. This is a small village. He knew everybody. He knew where they lived. He knew the back streets. He even knew the animals. He knew which people owned which animals. See, Jesus was not just hoping that they would find a donkey. Go into this town and see if you can find a donkey somewhere. He knew everyone, and they all knew him. I mean, everybody in these towns knew about the raising of Lazarus. This is where it happened. Nobody disputed the fact that Lazarus was dead. They went to his funeral. There were no skeptics in these towns. The people of Bethpage and Bethany understood Jesus' identity like few other people. I mean, he'd brought one of their own back to life. So when Jesus tells the disciples to go into Bethpage to fetch a donkey and its colt, it was not a shot in the dark. It wasn't risky. He wasn't worried that they were going to come back and say, well, couldn't find one. He wasn't worried that the owner's ring cam was going to catch the disciples and the owner was going to come out and say, hey, get out of here. You know. Instead, Jesus tells his disciples exactly where to go and what to do. Walk up to the house, untie the donkey, its colt will follow, and start walking away. And if the owner says, what are you doing? You just say, Jesus, the Lord needs them. And that will be enough. Jesus deliberately created a crisis, and he is directing every aspect of his entry into Jerusalem. Matthew 21:6. So the disciples went, and they did as Jesus instructed him. They brought the donkey and the colt, and they placed their coats on him for Jesus to sit on. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. So, who's in the crowd? Who's in this crowd? Who would have been on the road before and in these villages that are outside Jerusalem? Not city people. There's no Jerusalem people here. These are villagers from Bethany and Bethpage. They were not paid supporters bussed in for this little demonstration. These are local people who know Jesus and who have heard that he's coming up the hill. Well, you're going, well, how'd they hear that he's coming up the hill? There's no phones. Oh, word travels really fast in small towns. We didn't have any telephones in the little Alaskan village where I grew up, but we didn't need them. I mean, the first person to see a river barge rounding the wide bend in the Yukon River, 9 miles upriver, would yell at the top of their lungs, "Steamboat coming! Steamboat coming!" And the cry would immediately get passed through the whole village. Within a minute, everybody in the village knew that a steamboat was coming. And by the time that steamboat came down and swung around and landed down by the bluff, the whole village was standing there to see what came on the barge. Jesus didn't just send for a donkey, he sent for a crowd. He wants and he expects this demonstration. Verse 9, the crowds that went ahead of him and those that followed shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David." Same thing the blind men said. And Jesus didn't stop these people either. It's all coming together now. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest heaven. So, see, Jesus not only wants his friends in Bethany and Bethpage to declare that he is the Son of David, he wants the religious authorities sitting by their desks in Jerusalem to hear the crowd. He wants them to hear the cheers like you do a stadium when you're a mile away and there's a football game going. The third thing to notice is the animal that Jesus chose for a ride. And we go, well, of course he chose an animal. I mean, it's Palm Sunday. I mean, there are 3 important donkeys in the Bible, right? One is Balaam's, the one that talked. The second one is what? The one that Mary rode, even though it doesn't say Mary rode her. The one that Mary rode and this one, Palm Sunday. 3 important donkeys. Oh, there's much more to this than just that. To understand why Jesus rode a donkey, you have to slip on some sandals and pretend like you're a disciple. Listen to the disciples as they're walking up this hill. They're talking to each other about what just happened in Jericho down at the bottom. See, until those blind men called out the Messiah title and Jesus accepted it, Jesus had been really guarded about his kingship. And again, for so long, the disciples had wanted Jesus to seize power. Come on, Jesus, take charge. You raise the dead, you heal the sick, you command nature. I mean, we know you have it in you to expel the Romans. We can feel it in our bones. And not only that, Jesus, we're ready to do it with you. I mean, we haven't been following you for 3 years for nothing. We are all in. Let's go. Let's do it. And we know this from a story that Mathew includes right before the blind man story. So we're going to back up a little bit further. In Matthew chapter 20, verse 20, the mother of the two disciples, James and John, approaches Jesus with a request. And it's actually an odd request. And the scene almost makes you feel a little awkward when you read it. Here's Matthew 20:20. Then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to Jesus with her sons, and kneeling down, asked a favor of him. What is it you want? He asked. And she said, grant that one of these two sons of mine may sit at your right and the other at your left in your kingdom. In your kingdom. She knew what was going to happen. And she knew the chatter among the disciples. Jesus, let's just keep this conversation confidential, but it's becoming really clear to all of us that you're going to be king soon. And when that happens, could my boys, sit next to you, have the thrones next to you? Well, two things happen. First of all, Jesus says, you don't know what you're asking. You don't know what you're asking. You don't know how all this is going to unfold. The other thing that happened was the other disciples who had overheard this conversation between the two boys and their mom and Jesus, they're ticked. They're going, what about us? What are we, chopped liver? You think we've been hanging around for nothing? We've been here all the way too. And so Jesus seizes on this tension that's in the group now to say, all of your expectations are completely misguided. Verse 25, Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. That is your leadership model, he says. I know how you guys think. Not so with you. Not so in the kingdom that I'm going to establish. Instead, whoever wants to be great among you must become your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. And trust me, verse 28 went, phew. None of them heard it. Yeah, he's always been a humble guy. We've heard him talk like this before, but we know he's going to be king. I mean, the two blind men from Jericho confirmed what we already knew. He's Messiah. He's taking David's throne back. But here's the glitch for the disciples. This is a glitch. Jesus didn't choose to enter Jerusalem like a king. He chose to ride a donkey. I mean, who rides a donkey besides this guy? Poor people ride donkeys. Illiterate people, country people, they ride donkeys. Kings ride horses. Generals ride horses, big, beautiful horses, all decked out with bells and decorations. And so as they're winding up this road to Jerusalem, the disciples may even have been discussing, I don't know this, but they may have even been discussing, okay, so if he's going to be King of Kings, if he's going to be the conquering general, we need to find a horse. Where are we going to get a horse? Jesus needs to ride a horse into this grand entrance. And then Jesus sends us for a donkey. And the disciples are thinking, this guy This guy needs to hire a campaign manager. He needs a consultant. I mean, yeah, he just showed he grew up in Nazareth. I mean, he's got the Nazareth boy's instincts for public relations. It's just not there. It's just off. This is going to fizzle. Here we are. He's sending mixed signals. The king can't enter Jerusalem like some wandering guru. This is not the way you get views on TikTok. Trust me. Jesus needs to inspire confidence. And we know he can do it. But he needs to look like he's capable of driving out the Romans. That will play. That will get likes. A donkey? Disciples, they're scratching their heads. Now, before we move on, I want to point out one small but really significant word in this verse, Matthew 21:5. It's an adjective. Now, I'm sure that you could immediately identify the four adjectives in this sentence, but one of them really stands out. Mathew is quoting from the Old Testament prophet Zechariah. It says, "Say to the daughter Zion, see, your king comes to you gentle." That's a really important word. The king comes to you gentle. I mean, when you think king, what are some words that come to your mind? Powerful, maybe benevolent if he's a good king, decisive, knowledgeable, charismatic, ambitious, maybe cunning, or maybe ruthless even if he's not a good king, visionary. How about gentle? Not so much. Not so much. Which leads me to 3 remarkable and surprising qualities of Christ the King. Here they are. We're going to look at each of these. Jesus was number 1, he was disruptive. Number 2, Jesus was unorthodox. And number 3, Jesus was transformational. First of all, Jesus was disruptive. He was a problem. He was confrontational. He forced the issue. He didn't back off. Yeah, he was meek. Yes, he was humble. But he was totally disruptive to the status quo. I mean, he said, I'm going to divide families. He was not modest. Again and again, he makes these audacious claims and he does these shocking things. Are you the king of the universe? Yes. Are you the boss? Well, look what he did right after the triumphal entry. He goes to the temple, Matthew 21:12. Jesus entered the temple courts and he drove out all who were buying and selling there, like he was in charge. I mean, Jerusalem is overflowing with Passover pilgrims. They all needed to purchase lambs or goats or pigeons or whatever they could afford for their annual sacrifice. Plus, there was a temple tax that had to be paid with a coin minted in the temple. And so all these people are there. This temple courtyard is filled with kiosks where all the out-of-towners could come and they could purchase sacrifice animals, and they could exchange their Roman currency, or they could barter for these temple coins so they could pay the temple tax. It was like a huge Saturday market, but it was a tourist trap. It was corrupt. Verse 12 again. Jesus entered the temple courts, and he drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said, my house. Yeah, he's yelling, this is my house. What are you doing in my house? Who said you could plant your flag on my midfield logo? And he starts rearranging the furniture like he owns the place, which he does because he's the king. My house. Philip Yancey, in his book, The Jesus I Never Knew, says modern Christianity has tamed Jesus. He wrote, "The Jesus I learned about as a child was sweet and inoffensive, the kind of person on whose lap you'd want to climb up on, Mr. Rogers with a beard." It was not Mr. Rogers with a beard in the temple. I'm God. And he presses that identity. His authority is relentless. It's in your face. He didn't sneak into Jerusalem meekly and, "Oh, excuse me, could I just go over here? Sorry." He is demanding that the religious leaders make a choice. Crown me or kill me. There's no middle ground. He forces every person's hand from that day until now. Crown me or kill me. You can hate him as a lunatic, or you can yield to him and embrace him completely. There's nothing in the middle. Crown me or kill me. See, a lot of people want Jesus to be a Mr. Rogers. They want a helper. They want an inspiration. They want a counselor. They want a defender. But just as needed, you know. And Jesus doesn't sit there and nod passively. "Sure, just text me whenever you need me, and I'll be there for you." No, he says, "I can be your shepherd. I can be your brother. I can be your guide. I can be your protector. I can be your friend, but only if I'm king. I'm either king or I'm nothing at all. I demand every part of you, your affections, your loyalty, your ambitions, your job, your sexuality, your entertainment, your time. It's all or nothing." In the last book of the Bible, there's a section where John pictures Jesus kind of evaluating and assessing the seven churches, 7 first century churches that Paul established, some of them. Look at what Jesus says about the church at Laodicea. Jesus says, "I know your deeds, church, that you are neither hot nor cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth." Jesus is disruptive. You are not hot. You are not cold. You are lukewarm. I mean, hot tea is soothing. Cold tea is refreshing. Tepid tea? The king says, "Make me absolute ruler of your life or reject me entirely. I won't settle for just being admired. I'm not here to be your emotional support animal. I'm not willing to just be on call." He demands everything. Crown me or kill me. Years ago, there was a Pocatello, Idaho pastor named Wilbur Reese, penned a tongue-in-cheek piece titled $3 Worth of God. Some of you have heard this. "I would like to buy $3 worth of God, please. Not enough to explode my soul or disturb my sleep, but just enough to equal a warm cup of milk, a snooze in the sunshine. I don't want enough of God to make me love a black man or pick beets with a migrant. I want ecstasy, not transformation. I want warmth of the womb, not a new birth. I want a pound of the eternal in a paper sack. I would like to buy $3 worth of God, please." $3 worth of God will buy you a philosophy of life that does work. I mean, it will buy you a good moral system. It can make you feel better about yourself. But if you really want Jesus, you have to go all in. Jesus is disruptive. Second, Jesus is unorthodox. In a lot of ways, he's a paradox. He is the conquering king, but he comes gentle. We've already seen that. The ruler of the universe rides a donkey. He's the creator, but he's a lamb before his shearers is dumb. He's weak. And the reason for this paradox is Jesus is showing this is how the gospel works. You need to think different. The whole point of the gospel is we are saved through weakness, not strength. Jesus saves weak people. He chooses the ones that are chosen last on the playground. He saves people who are much more aware of their brokenness than their strengths. He says that that's because when you know you are weak, then he can be strong. He doesn't look over a group and cherry pick. Now there's a stud. I'll take him. Oh, there's a really smart one there, straight A's. I'll take her. There's a successful person there. I can use that one. I'll save that one. No, that's not the way he does it at all. Paul wrote, God chose the things that the world considers foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. And he chose the things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful. See how unorthodox this is? Jesus the king, here's the king. He reaches out and he touches lepers. No king, nobody does that. The king does that. He pauses for blind beggars and he tells the kids that nobody respects. He says, kids, come on over here. I want to talk to you for a minute. He notices this hated tax collector clinging to a tree branch, and he says, could I eat with you tonight? He talks to prostitutes. He spent most of his time in these podunk towns, not the main city of the region. If you want to be something, you go to Jerusalem. You live there. What kind of a king is this? An unorthodox king. He is disruptive. He is unorthodox. And last and best, he is transformational. There's a great picture of this in verse 14. Jesus had just chased these dishonest merchants and money changers out of the temple. He's red in the face. He's sweating. His blood pressure is up. You know how it is when you're angry. And look what he does. Right after this, on the heels of this intense confrontation, verse 14, the blind and the lame came to him at the temple, and he healed them. Never lost sight of human needs. Never lost sight of people's needs. The king is never, ever too busy to hear about hurts. Whatever concerns you is not too small. If you let the unorthodox, disruptive King of Kings take over your life, he will not only forgive you your sins, he will free you from guilt. He can heal you. He can transform you in ways that you can't even imagine. He is transformative. We've seen it happen right here in this community of believers. People whose lives have been transformed. You may have been born into a bad family. You know what happens. You may have been born at a really bad time. Your father may have been alcoholic. Your mother may have abandoned you when you most needed her. You may feel inadequate, unlovable. You may feel like you lack direction in your life or you're bored. You're bored with school. You're bored with work. You look around and everybody else is raving about their career, or at least they have a life direction, and you have nothing. You're not sure what you want to do. And you're 45 years old. You're getting older. And you start thinking, and then your body starts falling apart. Trust me, I know. You worry about your deteriorating health. The king never intended for anybody to carry this stuff alone. No, don't have to. You don't need a hand up. You need a king who can transform you from the inside out. 2 Corinthians 5:17, anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old is gone. The new life has become. We're going to cut out the last song. Skylar's going to come up right after I pray, but I want you to bow your heads for prayer for just a moment. Whatever your situation is today, I'm telling you, you can trust the King who gave his life for you. If you're here today and you've been just thinking about, you've been investigating and just kind of playing around the edges of Christianity, and you're not sure it's going to work, I'm telling you, it's not going to work. You've got to go all in. You've got to make him your Savior. You have to make him your Lord, make him your King. That's not hard to do. You just pray and say, Jesus, I'm a mess. I know me and I don't like me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for forgiving my sins. Come in and be my King, be my Lord. Transform my life. I need you every day. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. That's where it started for every one of us who is here, who knows Christ. I know most of you here today made that decision some time ago, but maybe you're wondering, is Jesus noticing? Does he know what I'm going through? Is he too busy saving all those other people and I'm just here just kind of bebopping along? The King sees you. He knows you like he knew the people in Bethany and Bethpage. Knows everything about you. Knows what your pets' names are. And he cares about you. You can trust him. Don't walk away from him. Trust him. He's the King.